Everybody, welcome to the show. Round the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. I got a great Thursday show for you guys today. A lot of Trump-related stuff. Yep. Fascinating stuff. We have Donald Trump. His lawyer decides to give up. That's a great story. I'm going to love giving that one to you. Then we have two old men wanting to get into a fist fight. Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Then the real reason McCabe was fired. We also have Jared Kushner in the pocket of Saudi princes, or a specific Saudi prince. We also have more details, like I promised yesterday, about the Austin terrorist. You can see where I'm going on that one. And then we'll talk about something that might not be too bad. That's put into the gigantic Omnibus bill. That's going to, or that's working its way through Congress. We have that as well. So, fun day, fun stories, lots of TYT Nation. So let's get to it. Before I start the show, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Obviously, please give us a like and share if you haven't already. That really, really helps the show. Also, there are ways to help the show, for example, using the Super Chat, and also becoming a patron to support independent, progressive, non-corporate media. All right. All that aside, we got a hell of a day. So let's get to it. All right. Let me see if I get this right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes John Dowd. Down goes John Dowd. That is, of course, one of Donald Trump's lawyers. He is done. He has decided to leave the sinking ship. Now, this is according to the New York Times. The president's lead lawyer for the special counsel investigation, that is the Mueller investigation, John Dowd, resigned on Thursday, according to two people briefed on the matter. This is just days after the president called for an end to the Mueller investigation. He's like, I don't like the Mueller investigation. Let's get it over with. Come on, let's shut this thing down. Let's wrap it up. But wait a minute. He's in your account. He's subpoenaing your businesses. So, he don't like that. He doesn't like it when somebody roots around in his business dealings, which is where you'll find the corruption. And Donald Trump, he is a corrupt person. Okay? I know, shock, horror, chagrin, right? But no, he's an incredibly corrupt businessman. So whether that has to deal with Russia, we don't know, right? But the expansion of the Mueller probe is looking into possible money laundering. And, of course, Donald Trump, money laundering kind of goes hand in hand. And I'm pretty certain he'll find evidence of that, or has already found evidence of that, possibly. So Trump's like, get out, get out, get out, get out. Get out, get out, get out, get out. Now. Go. We got to get out of here. That's it. I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to get rid of you. Get rid of you. Now, his lawyers, they're like, no, don't do that. What you need to do is you need to actually go and allow the probe to continue. You'll eventually be vindicated and all that stuff. So leave Mueller alone. Leave Mueller alone. In fact, this is the reason that Dowd left. Now, according to the New York Times, Mr. Dowd, who took over the president's legal team last summer after the last lawyer up and left, had considered leaving several times in recent months and ultimately concluded that Mr. Trump was increasingly ignoring his advice. Well, that would make sense. Does Donald Trump take advice? No, he does not. He doesn't care about other people's advice. In fact, he does whatever the hell he wants. That's Trump for you. Like, no, you're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. You're going out there and you're attacking Mueller by name, which is what he had done this past weekend, of course. And he's continued his attacks on, again, the FBI, Mueller, McCabe, Comey, et cetera, right? And they're like, don't do that. For God's sakes, don't attack Mueller directly. If you are innocent, fucking act like it. Well, he doesn't know how to act innocent. But anyway, in fact, that's what the Times says. The president has instead in recent days begun publicly assailing Mr. Mueller, a shift in tone that appears to be born of the president's concern that the investigation is bearing down on him more directly. Another piece of advice that Donald Trump apparently ignored is a sit down with the special counsel. Now, I think that would be a fantastic idea. Hey, Trump, are you going to allow them to call you a wuss? You going to allow them to call you a coward for not meeting with Mueller? If you're innocent, if you haven't done anything wrong, then you should absolutely do a sit down with Mueller. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen? But look, overall, when your lawyer leaves, the second one, you know things are not going well. And of course, Dowdy's saying, no, I absolutely love the president. I loved being his lawyer. It's just I had to go. I just had to go. Okay, then. Again, that's always a great sign. So now this is funny because if you go back just 11 days ago, he put out a tweet. This is Donald Trump. The failing New York Times purposely wrote a false story stating that I'm unhappy with my legal team on the Russia case, and I'm going to add another lawyer to help out. Wrong. I am very happy with my lawyers, John Dowd, Ty Cobb, and Jay Sekulow. They're doing a great job. Apparently not. That happened 11 days ago. 11 days ago. And look, I can go back to an earlier tweet that is also a lot of fun. This is about the chaos. Fake news narrative is that there is chaos in the White House. Wrong. People will always come and go, and I want strong dialogue before making the final decision. I still have people that I want to change, always seeking perfection. There is no chaos, only great energy. There is no chaos. There is only great energy. As the rats continue to flee the ship. He said it. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I had way too much fun with this one. Okay. So let's move on to something a little bit more fun. We're going to have fun. Let's go with Biden. Now, look, recently Joe Biden has been going around and doing speeches and things like that. Look, a lot of people are saying he's probably going to run for president in 2020. Yeah, that's pretty much the rumor. Of course, is the establishment favorite, or one of the establishment favorites in this. There's a lot, actually. And so, look, he's going out there and he's giving these speeches. Now, at one of these speeches, this was at the University of Miami's It's On Us rally. He basically said some things about President Trump that some see as controversial. Let's take a look at what he said, and then we'll break it down, and then we'll get Trump's reaction. Let's watch.
When a guy who ended up becoming our national leader said I can grab a woman anywhere and she likes it, and then said, I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. They asked me would I like to debate this gentleman. I said no. I said if we were in high school I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. I've been in a lot of locker rooms my whole life. I'm a pretty damn good athlete. Any guy who talked that way was usually the fattest, ugliest SOB in the room.
Okay. So, hey, man, if I were in high school, I'd take him behind the locker room and I'd beat the hell out of him. Any guy who talks like that is usually, one of the fattest, ugliest SOBs in the room. Okay, so look, that's what he said. You know what? That's actually, I'm okay with that. I know I'm a terrible lib, but look, someone like that, like you hear somebody talking like that in the locker room, you'll kind of want to punch him in the mouth. Again, I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying that most normal people, most decent people would have that similar reaction. So I get it. I get it. Now, Donald Trump was not impressed by Biden's comments, and he decided to take to Twitter to say so. In fact, he tweeted, "Crazy Joe Biden is trying to act like a tough guy. Actually, he is weak, both mentally and physically." By the way, oh, so he's mentally weak as well. That's great. And yet he threatens me for the second time with physical assault. He doesn't know me, but he would go down fast and hard, crying all the way. Don't threaten people, Joe. I'm sorry, but the reaction enough is hilarious. Oh, okay, why are we talking about this and not policy? If this is the way, Joe, you're going to try to take on Donald Trump in 2020 if you decide to run, that's not smart because you're playing on Trump's territory. Again, his reaction is that of a third grader. But this entire thing is a third grade thing. This is, I'm going to beat you up. No, I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to beat your ass. What are we, in high school? Come on, man. What's going on here? Look, as I said, I get it. I understand when you see somebody who's talking like that about women and mistreating them. Obviously, yes. Of course, you want to have that reaction. But at the same time, you guys are politicians. Okay, Donald Trump is not a politician. He's a buffoon. But he's also the president of the United States. We're having Twitter beefs as if they're, as I said, in high school. No, Joe, if you're actually going to run, which, look, I'm not in favor. But if you're going to run, why don't you hit him on substantive policy? I know it's a crazy idea telling politicians to run on policy and not run on who can beat each other up. I mean, who's better at it? It's dumb. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's and you know what? It doesn't serve the greater good. I mean, like, a lot of people will look at this whole thing and just roll their eyes like, oh my God, like, why aren't we talking about things that will actually help the American people? And that's where I want to go. Joe, if you want to talk about his record on women's issues, well, you've got a lot there. And tie it into what he says, right? Because, look, he said a lot of terrible things about women. I've talked about that before, you know, calling Elisa Machado Miss Piggy, Miss Housekeeping. Not only is that sexist and incredibly racist, you can talk about that stuff and then tie that into the kind of policies. The fact that he wants to go after women for having an abortion. And the fact that a lot of his policies are actually very anti-woman as well. So, look, why don't you talk about his policy and then what you would do different in policy? But, look, unfortunately, we don't have that type of thing. We don't have that type of discussion when it comes to presidential politics. And we're really missing out because we need to have a discussion on these issues. We need to have a discussion on these policies and on the culture and how we change that culture through certain policies and certain actions. This is like 1950s schoolyard drama. It's got no place in presidential politics. So while I agree with Joe and I have a sympathy to his position, like, yeah, of course you want to smack people like that in the mouth. But maybe that's not the best way to go when you're running in politics and when you're running to actually try to do policy and change things. Just a little bit of a pointer. Okay. Damn it. Trying to get through this show without coughing. All right, moving on. Now, last week, Jeff Sessions was given a choice on what to do with Andrew McCabe. Now, in an earlier show, I thought, look, I think this is a loyalty test when it comes to Jeff Sessions. Sessions hasn't exactly endeared himself to Donald Trump by recusing himself from the Russia probe, and which led to the appointment of the special counsel Robert Mueller. So, look, Donald Trump's been trying to force out Sessions for quite some time. Sessions has not been willing to go, so I think that allowing him the decision of whether to fire McCabe was a way for him to prove his loyalty, because McCabe hasn't exactly been a friend to the White House. Well, now there seems to be a new angle in this story. Not only did Trump not like McCabe for certain reasons involving the investigation into Russia, but Sessions himself seems to have a beef with McCabe. Now, according to sources familiar with the matter, talking to ABC News, nearly a year before Attorney General Jeff Sessions fired senior FBI official Andrew McCabe for what Sessions called a lack of candor, McCabe oversaw a federal criminal investigation into whether Jeff Sessions had lacked candor when testifying before Congress about contacts with Russian operatives. Oops. Oh, you want to come after me for lacking candor? I'm going to come after you for lacking candor. See how you like it, bitch. So, now, that's what I think happened. But according to ABC News, according to sources, Sessions was not aware of the investigation when he decided to fire McCabe last Friday, less than 48 hours before McCabe, a former FBI deputy director, was due to retire from government and obtain a full pension. However, an attorney representing Sessions declined to confirm that. Sure. Oh, no, I didn't know about that. I'm just going to fire him 2 days before he gets his retirement. 'Cause fuck you, that's why. Come on, we know. You knew. He knew. Now, according to the sources, what this whole thing is about is McCabe authorized criminal inquiry after a top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont, and then Senator Al Franken, who got forced out, wrote a letter in March 2017 to the FBI urging agents to investigate all contacts that Jeff Sessions may have had with the Russians, and whether any laws were broken in the course of those contacts, or any subsequent discussion of whether they occurred. Now, look, you guys remember Sessions' testimony? I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. If I had, I would tell you. If I had any contact with any Russians, I would tell you, but I do not recall. Yeah, the whole testimony was pretty much like that. Later on, it was revealed by the Washington Post that he had at least 2 meetings with the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak. Oh, you just happened to forget about it. Oh, no, I forgot. I did not recall that meeting with that Russian ambassador. I'm sorry, I could not. Oh, you just jogged my memory, Washington Post. Oh, my God. Now, Leahy and Franken said in the statement at the time, quote, "We know he would not tolerate dishonesty if he were in our shoes." So basically what they were asking is, hey, investigate Sessions. Because it's obvious he lied. He lied about meeting with Russians, and it's right there in the Washington Post. And they're saying that he basically lied about it. I don't know. I don't recall. I don't remember. Well, maybe he did. Or he's got the worst memory of any official in the last, 100 years. Anyway. Now, Leahy and Franken also said in this letter to then FBI Director James Comey, "We are concerned by Attorney General Sessions' lack of candor to the committee and his failure thus far to accept responsibility for testimony that could be construed as perjury." Now, of course, Comey did not last. He got fired by Trump as well. I guess for not being sufficiently loyal enough and all that. Now, McCabe he himself being accused of lacking candor, denies misleading investigators, saying in his own statement that he is being singled out and treated this way because of the role I played, the actions I took, and the events I witnessed in the aftermath of the firing of James Comey. Well, tell us more, McCabe. We would very much like to hear the events and the actions that you took in the aftermath. And I think some of that is going to come out. But look, this whole thing about them, about Trump and McCabe, and the reason that they didn't like him is because they thought he had a bias, right, as deputy director. And they point out that, oh, look, his wife, she ran for state senate and she received money from Terry McAuliffe. Therefore, you are a Democrat. No, Andrew McCabe is a Republican. And he's actually says he's a proud Republican. See, all these different people that Donald Trump is going after, calling and saying that they're Democrats. James Comey, Republican. Andrew McCabe, Republican. Robert Mueller, Republican. In fact, Robert Mueller had a part in selling bad intelligence about Iraq and helped us, or unfortunately, that helped Congress make the terrible decision to go and invade Iraq. But you want to call him a Democrat? Fucking ridiculous. Look, you can say that the FBI has a bias, right? You certainly can't call it a liberal bias. It is a very conservative organization, and you can't say that Mueller has his own bias. Again, all Republicans, any hint of bias gets eliminated, gets you absolutely eliminated from the Mueller investigation. Why? Because they want to play it by the book. And I haven't seen anything from Robert Mueller to suggest that he's not trying to play it by the book, that he's not trying to do an actual investigation. So all this, oh no, this guy's biased, these are all Democrats, that is complete bullshit. That is Donald Trump basically trying to make this investigation into corruption overtly political. Well, and I'm not saying that other people aren't making this political. There are people on the left that are, or I should say the centrists, that are absolutely making this political, for sure. I mean, you got, Adam Schiff over there, absolutely political. But at the same time, what they try to paint it as, this investigation, and what it actually is, are two completely different things. Unfortunately, some people are only going to see the politics involved in both sides. But as far as McCabe, he says that politics was absolutely not a factor in any of the decisions that he made. Now, one of the decisions that he made was actually trying to go after Hillary Clinton's emails, just like James Comey had also tried to go after Hillary Clinton's emails. So, look, they want to say that this whole thing is, oh no, it's complete bias against Trump. We know that that's ridiculous when you actually look at the facts. Okay. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a quick break here. Stay right here, around the nation. We've got more stories, so we'll be right back right after this. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, TOT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Got plenty more where that came from. We're going to go into a story about Kushner. So, let's see. Let's get into this. Oh, if you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. If you haven't already, thank you. I would definitely appreciate that. That's helps the show. Helps the show get out. Let's see. I am just checking Twitter. So just kind of ignore all that. Should have checked Twitter before. But like I said, if you want to help out the show, you can do a super chat, and you can do Patreon as well. So patreon.com/218nation. That's how you help out the show. Okay. Anyway, let's go with Kushner. So Jared Kushner is under a little bit of fire when it comes to his relationship with the Saudi princes. Now, this is Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Now, he had made the news because back in June, he decided to oust his cousin, then Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef, and took his place next in line to the throne. So what he did is he basically upended the established line of succession. Look, let me just point out how it's super, super weird how we still have monarchies in the world. Like, I know, I realize the UK is a monarchy, but it's also, the queen is more of a figurehead. In Saudi Arabia, it's a lot different. The monarchy is actually enforced, and they do all sorts of crazy backwards-ass things, like, I don't know, behead people for apostasy, and, witchcraft, and et cetera, et cetera. So, they're a really weird kind of backwards country that is fundamentalist Muslim. Now, that hasn't stopped President Trump and many other presidents, in fact, all other presidents, from having warm ties to this country that has spread Wahhabist Islam all over the Middle East. That includes the people that we're fighting right now, ISIS. Now, a good example of the Trump administration, who was supposed to be really, really tough on ISIS and tough on terrorism and all that, well, turns out they're not very tough on them because Jared Kushner and Donald Trump have both been to Saudi Arabia. In fact, in late October, Jared Kushner made an unannounced trip to Riyadh, this is the capital of Saudi Arabia, which caught some of our intelligence officials off guard. Now, while he was there, he met with two different princes. He met with another prince, that is Mohammed bin Salman, and swapped stories and planned different strategies. This is according to the Washington Post, David Ignatius. Now, he reported that back in October. Now, what they talked about, we're not exactly sure. But after the meeting, Crown Prince Mohammed told confidants that Kushner had discussed the names of Saudis that happened to have been disloyal to the Crown Prince. Now, this is according to three different sources who have been in contact with members of the Saudi and Emirati royal families since the crackdown. Now, this is being reported in The Intercept. Now, Kushner, through his attorneys or spokesman, denies having actually done so. But, of course, can we really take Jared Kushner at his word? Now, on November 4th, a week after Kushner returned to the U.S., the Crown Prince launched what he called an anti-corruption crackdown. Now, the Saudi government arrested dozens of members of the Saudi royal family and imprisoned them in the Ritz-Carlton, which was first reported by The Intercept. The Saudi figures named in the president's daily brief were among those rounded up. At least one was reportedly tortured. So now, that's funny because they mentioned the president's daily brief. Before Jared Kushner had his security clearance stripped, he was able to read that daily brief. So if that was our intelligence that he gave to Saudi Arabia, to this specific Saudi prince, bin Salman, well, then that is problematic because that is leaking U.S. Intelligence to a foreign country. Now, Kushner has other ties to foreign countries. In fact, let me go in here and read some more of this. Now, one of the people, Mohammed bin Salman, told about the discussion with Kushner was UAE Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed, according to the source who talks frequently with confidants of the Saudi and Emirati rulers. MBS bragged, that's Mohammed bin Salman, to the Emirati Crown Prince that Kushner was, quote, in his pocket. So, man, that is one hell of a close relationship. Oh, no. Kushner, you see, Kushner, he's in my pocket. Like, he's sitting in my pocket right now. Like, I control him. I basically own him. Now, why? How would that even be possible? Well, we'll get to that. And, of course, it has to do with Jared Kushner's financial dealings, which makes this even more of a example of the massive corruption inside of the Trump White House. Now, if Kushner had discussed the names of the Saudi prince without presidential authorization, because, again, this would be our intelligence, then he could have violated federal laws around the sharing of classified intelligence. Now, the other thing that could have happened is Trump's like, oh, yeah, go ahead and use that. Yeah, go ahead and tell them. Look, Donald Trump, again, is a big friend of the Saudis now. In fact, Donald Trump, this may have actually happened. Donald Trump might have actually said, go ahead and share this intelligence with our friends in Saudi Arabia. Now, why do I say that? Well, Trump took to Twitter to defend Mohammed bin Salman's crackdown of corruption. He says, quote, I had great confidence in King Salman and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. They know exactly what they are doing. Some of those they are harshly treating have been milking their country for years. Interesting. Very interesting. But again, even if Trump didn't know, he backed Kushner in the end. And he's had a habit of actually doing that. Now, that, of course, has a lot of people worried, this situation. In fact, senior U.S. government officials, according to The Intercept, have long worried about Kushner's handling of sensitive foreign policy issues, given his lack of diplomatic experience. They have also raised concerns about the possibility that foreign officials might try to influence him through business deals with his family's real estate empire. And right now, Special Counsel Robert Mueller is examining Kushner's business ties as part of his probe of corruption. So, look, these business deals, they could get him in a lot of trouble. Look, and this relationship with the Saudi crown princes is especially troubling. Now, according to an investigation, Kushner has grown so close to the Saudi and Arabian crown princes that he has communicated with them directly using WhatsApp. That's a secure messaging app owned by Facebook and popular in the Middle East. This is according to a senior Western official and a source close to the Saudi royal family. Oh, look, you could say, they're just friends. They just sit there and they have conversations about all this fun stuff and, crackdowns and all that. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Or it could be other things. Now, Kushner's unconventional communications with these regional leaders excluded diplomats during the summer of 2017, when Saudi Arabia and the UAE initiated an economic blockade at weakening their Gulf neighbor, Qatar. Now, what's interesting about that, this goes back to more of Kushner's corruption. Kushner had attempted to secure a half a billion-dollar deal with the finance minister of Qatar in order to save one of his properties. It's 666 something Avenue in New York. This is one of Kushner's buildings. This is one of the Kushner family properties that is underwater. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact address on this one. But it's one of the Kushner properties that is not doing very well, that needs an extra round of financing. So he goes to the leaders of Qatar and he says, hey man, look, I got this building, I got this investment that I could use some financing on. Why don't you help a brother out? They decided to not go into that deal. And just weeks later, Kushner's like, you know what? Let's block Qatar. Yeah, let's get together, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. I'm going to support your blockade. Again, that seems like retaliation for not actually, for them not joining or doing that business deal with the Kushners. Again, that is super, super shady. Now, what's funny is that while Rex Tillerson was Secretary of State, he actually tried to mediate in this and was quickly undercut by both Donald Trump and Jared Kushner, who supported the blockade. 3 State Department officials told The Intercept that Tillerson was largely in the dark about Kushner's communications with Mohammed bin Salman during that period. In the wake of his crackdown in Saudi Arabia, the National Security Council's Policy Coordination Committee suggested that Tillerson intervene to try to reason with the Crown Prince, according to a former White House official and a former State Department official. Tillerson declined, telling colleagues doing so would be pointless, given that Kushner was already in close and direct contact with him. So he's not the only one that was out of the loop. You also had U.S. Army Colonel Michael Bell. Now, he complained that he was out of the loop in the Gulf crisis and the Arab-Israeli conflict, which again, Kushner was put in charge of. Oh, man. So, again, look, this seems to be an enormous bit of corruption. I mean, look, Chris Murphy, and he had a great quote on this. This is a Democratic senator from Connecticut. He says, quote, if the reason this administration put U.S. troops at risk in Qatar was to protect the Kushners' financial interests, then that's all the evidence you need to make some big changes in the White House. Look, man, Kushner's got to go. I think it's fairly clear that he is trying to use this position in order to enrich himself. He has absolutely no experience in diplomacy, mediation. Obviously, foreign leaders say that, oh man, look at that Kushner. We can take advantage of this guy because he's naive. Not only is he naive, but he's also incredibly corrupt. We can take advantage of him. You have one of the Saudi crown princes that's saying, Kushner, this guy's in our pocket. He'll do anything we want him to. He'll even help us and support us blockading one of our regional opponents in the area. Come on, man. It's obvious. You got to get him out of there. He does not belong in this office. He does not belong in the White House. He does not belong near any lever of power. You got to go. He's got to go. He's got to go. Now, look, maybe Mueller will find something on him. Again, he's looking into his business dealings. He's looking into his properties. So maybe that's the only way that we're going to get him out. But regardless of how he goes, he's got to go. Okay. Moving on. Jeez. Okay. Let me clean this up here. All right. There we go. So now we have some more details about the bomber in Austin that blew himself up rather than get taken into custody by police after killing 2 people and injuring several others by sending packages all over the Austin area. Now, authorities have since confirmed that the man, Mark Anthony Condon, a 23-year-old white male from Pflugerville, Texas, hopefully I'm saying that right, is responsible for the serial bombings that have plagued Austin since March 2nd. Now, they think that it's possible that he might have help, and so they're looking around, and they're also still looking to try and find a motive. Now, upon trying to find more information, we actually find more information about who he actually is, about his background. Now, BuzzFeed reported that Condit grew up in an evangelical homeschool family, and that the family was active in their local homeschooling community. Now, look, if you're a homeschooler, that's fine, right? I don't necessarily believe that's the best way to get an education, but hey, some homeschools are not the same as others. Some homeschoolers actually do teach their kids very, very well, and actually maybe better than schools. But again, this strikes me as more of a religious homeschool, so I don't think that in this case that's necessarily the case. But nonetheless, now, an acquaintance of Condit's, who did not wish to be identified, told BuzzFeed that she and Condit were in the same homeschool community between the ages of 8 and 13, and that she had had playdates with Condit, who, in her words, quote, seemed like a regular boy who liked to have fun and play games. His family seemed very nice. I was completely shocked when I heard. I had no idea it would be someone I knew. Okay, so look, this is fairly standard. You got people that, are in his family, people that know them, that are like, oh my God, how did I had no idea that they could be like this, that they would have gone out and hurt somebody. We hear that all the time. Of course, we hear it normally when it refers to a white person. Now, I've noticed that the news doesn't necessarily dig into their past quite like this, or talk to their neighbors, or put out these headlines such as, for example, the New York Times. The Austin bombing suspect was a quiet, nerdy young man who came from a tight-knit, godly family. This is according to somebody who had known the family for 18 years. Would that headline come out if instead of Mark Condit, we had Mohammed Kadir? I think you all know the answer to that already. No, it wouldn't have come out. It would have been like, oh my God, this guy, this terrorist, this Muslim hates America, and they must have been radicalized somewhere. No, they would not have brought up his nice religious upbringing if it had been somebody who was, again, a Muslim. Now, here's another person who knew Condit. This is Cash Assaults, who told BuzzFeed News that she ran the same conservative survivalist circles in high school. Survivalist circles? Well, that seems weird. Schultz said that they were both involved in a group called Righteous Invasion of Truth, Riot. Oh boy. Again, imagine if somebody who was, we overplayed the Muslim thing. What if they were black and they were in a group called Riot? Conservative heads would explode. But since this is a conservative group, this is actually a Bible study and outdoors group for homeschool kids. That included monthly activities such as archery, gun skills, and water balloon fights. Okay. Look, when you look at it, okay. Hey, there's nothing wrong with archery and gun skills and camping and all that stuff. Okay, great. That's fine. Again, but you just got to look at the double standard, right? If somebody who was black was in riot or Muslim who was in riot, well, let's just say there would be a riot. Now, more details about his beliefs. He is a conservative. Again, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative other than I think that you're politically wrong. But that does not make you a terrorist, right? And so right now there's nothing there that seems to indicate that his conservatism was the catalyst for him putting out these attacks. But let me give you more details here. According to his post, Condit referred to himself as, quote, not that politically inclined. Now, terrorism in the definition sense is, well, you do these terrorist attacks, you hurt somebody, you kill somebody, you would have to have a political motive. Well, he seems to not be all that politically inclined, according to his blog posts. But then again, these blog posts were back in 2012. Now, In his short bio on his blog, titled Defining My Stance, he shared his opinions on topics ranging from same-sex marriage to terrorism. Now, the terrorism part, that's going to be a little ironic, as well as the death penalty part. But first, he says, I view myself as a conservative, but I don't think I have enough information to defend my stance as well as it should be defended. Okay, so that was his rationale for going into the government class, where you had to go and share your political beliefs. So that's what this blog is actually from. Now, on same-sex marriage, he wrote, I do not believe it is proper to pass laws stating that homosexuals have rights. Uh-oh. So that's problematic, as is comparing same-sex marriage to pedophilia or bestiality. Oh, what's the difference? Are we going to start allowing pedophilia and bestiality? I mean, it's the same. No, it's not the same. Same-sex marriage involves consent, which pedophilia and bestiality do not involve consent. Consent is sort of the magic word here. An animal can't consent, and legally a child under a certain age cannot consent. So that's the difference. That is actually very easy to find out if you are interested at all in actually understanding. And again, why shouldn't gay people have rights? They're people. They're Americans. And we're all supposed to be protected under the Constitution with equal rights. The founders of the Constitution did not fucking stutter when they said all men are created equal. Just saying. Now, on abortion, of course, standard conservative view, he railed against a woman's right to choose, saying if you can't provide for a child, then don't have sex. Or maybe you should, I don't know, be in favor of birth control. Now, on terrorism. Now, this is interesting. It's actually some of the most interesting parts of this. He believed that Mark Deason, a Republican, made good points in a 2012 piece calling American officials' decision to accept a plea deal from a terrorist, Majid Khan, as outrageous. Oh my God. No, you don't understand. He's a terrorist. Never release him. In fact, I'm in favor of the death penalty, so we should execute him. No quarter for suspected terrorists or actual terrorists. Okay. Now, as I said, on the death penalty, he's very pro-death penalty. He said, living criminals harm and murder again. Executed ones do not. And he used the example of George Rivas, that is the mastermind of the Texas 7 prison break that left one police officer dead. Now, on that, again, this sort of, I think, offers a little bit of insight. Because he said if Rivas wanted to or wished for death, he would have just shot himself, like his fellow Texas 7 escapee, Larry Harper, who committed suicide rather than be captured and reincarcerated. So I think one of those things is that he was talking about, hey, look, obviously, if you're if you're going to try and escape, I think death is a way for them to do that. Instead of being reincarcerated, which takes away your freedom. I guess at least when you have that choice to die, that is exercising your freedom. Well, interestingly enough, that's exactly the path that he chose. See, instead of getting incarcerated by police, he detonated a suicide bomb that ended up injuring a police officer. So, look, you can't argue that he didn't stay with his principles. He is pro-death penalty to the last. As a terrorist, he gave himself the death penalty. Nonetheless, investigators say, yeah, but even though, okay, yeah, we see his background, but there's nothing in there to show that he has a motive for doing so. He even released a tape in which he's like, yeah, I'm making bombs. Yeah, but why? Why are you making bombs? Now, look, I think a lot of people don't care. I necessarily don't care. But I think it would be interesting if he actually did come up with a motive. But then again, let's go back to the double standard for a second. If it were a black person or a Muslim, we wouldn't actually be asking what the motive is. The media wouldn't be focusing on asking what the motive is. We would just assume that, hey, man, look, they hate us because they hate us. It's a little bit of a double standard on this. And so, look, we see this every time whether it be a white shooter or a white bomber versus somebody who's not white, who's Muslim or African American, Latino, etc. There is that double standard in the news. Oh no, the white people, they're just troubled. They're just troubled. There's something wrong with them. They're misunderstood. They were, quiet, and they were from a goodly family. And oh my God, and everybody can't believe that this actually happened. That reaction does not happen when you deal with people who are different. When there are people who are, again, different religion or Muslim, etc. It's always, when did he get radicalized? And where did he, and we got to shut this thing down. We got to shut people down from this country because, oh, look, we got another Muslim terrorist running around and doing this. So it's that gigantic double standard. And, even like I said, the New York Times and a lot of mainstream corporate media falls into that. And that's something that we need to be aware of. And that's something that we need to stop when talking about these issues. Doesn't matter where you're from, terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist. And if you harm people, if you kill people, if you hurt people, and you have a political motive, then by definition, you are a terrorist. Okay. Okay. Let's move on here. So Republicans are looking to pass what is called an Omnibus bill. That is a gigantic budget bill that is due before tomorrow, or else we're going to have a partial government shutdown. So, of course, Republicans are trying to get this thing through. Democrats are also working with Republicans to try and pass this Omnibus bill. And there have been a lot of different amendments. I've talked about a couple of them, including ones to restrict abortion, including the one where the Democrats decided, we're not going to actually support DACA, the DACA recipients. No, we're not going to do this at all. We're not going to push for our priorities. No, we want to push the Republicans to have a clean omnibus bill without any riders, and then we'll go through and discuss this in a different time. I think that's stupid. I think the Democrats had a lot of leverage on this issue, but have decided to throw it away. Now, there is another issue that the Democrats, I think, would have a lot of leverage on, and this is because of the recent outcry from the Parkland shooting and how people want more gun control. Now, this isn't gun control specifically, but a proposed amendment provision would allow the CDC to start doing some research on the causes of gun violence. Now, according to The Hill, Republican leaders have agreed to include a provision in the government funding a package clarifying that the CDC is not barred from conducting gun violence research under a 1996 amendment. Now, the omnibus, so they're basically referring to the bar on research when it comes to the CDC, when it comes to gun violence. Now, that's called the Dickey Amendment, which I think is fairly appropriate. And the Dickey Amendment basically says that you cannot advocate for gun control. You can't do research and ultimately advocate for gun control. Now, this was introduced by Representative Jay Dickey from Arkansas and says that none of the funds made available in this title may be used in whole or in part to advocate or promote gun control. Now, this amendment has basically had the effect of chilling gun violence research over the last 20 years. So a lot of people that are critical of the Dickey Amendment are saying, yeah, this is basically saying we can't do the research because we know the research is going to come up with, like on gun violence, that if you have less guns, then you will have less gun violence and you will have less shootings. Now, Republicans will look at that and be like, you are advocating for gun control. No, that's what the facts are saying. That's actually math. You do the math, less guns equals less gun violence. It doesn't turn out that less guns equals more gun violence. No, that's not how it works as math, right? So they had this Dickey amendment, and they kept reauthorizing it and saying, CDC, you cannot get funded to do this research. Now Republicans are like, well, you know, you could still do research. You're just not going to get funded, and it actually can't advocate or promote gun control. Then yes, you have basically stopped research on that. Call it what it is. Now fast forward to the Omnibus, where Republicans are saying, you know what, we'll do a partial. We'll not do a full repeal, but we'll do a partial, so you can get maybe a little bit of funding as long as you don't advocate or promote for gun control. Well, then what have you actually done? You actually really haven't done anything. Look, the agency, thanks to the Dickey Amendment, has lacked dedicated funding for firearms research ever since it's been put into place. Instead, research has been concentrated at a handful of private foundations and universities, such as Johns Hopkins, the University of Washington, and the University of California. In fiscal year 2014 through 2017, former President Obama kept requesting money, $10 million each year for the CDC to use to study gun violence and prevention. And of course, every time he asked for it, what did the Republicans do? Ooh, nope, sorry, you're going to use it to promote gun control. They denied it every time. So I fail to see what this will actually do. Again, a partial repeal. Republicans still control the money, so say a president, and it won't be President Trump, by the way, but say the next president, maybe President Sanders, asks for, hey, man, look, I would like some money to study gun research. Nope, can't do it. Sorry, sad day. That's, of course, that the Republicans are still in charge, which becomes I think a more difficult thing to consider, to think of as time goes by. But you never know. They could still be in charge. And this is not a full repeal of the Dickey Amendment. So again, I don't really see how this is going to benefit, what this is going to actually do. But they said, basically, the Republicans are saying, we're just clarifying that you're not barred. But you've effectively chilled research. So, and you control the money. So again, this does nothing while saying, look, we've done something. We told the CDC that they were not banned from doing gun research. This is about as weak sauce you can get. And if you got Democrats on board that are saying, oh yes, thank you, GOP, bipartisanship, well then that's just absolutely sad and shows you how sad and weak the Democratic Party has become. Okay. All right. That's it. Jesus Lord mercy, I'm done already. I am going to head out. I want to thank you guys for watching, for going around the nation with me today, of course. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. Please consider going and becoming a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. Didn't have any super chats today, but that's all right. I want to thank you guys for chatting in the chat room and all that stuff. We'll be back tomorrow. Another great show right here, TYT Nation. That is from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern. That's every day, or normally every day. Right here on TYT Nation. If you haven't already, please subscribe as well. That helps out a lot. And if you are having problems seeing notifications, there's a bell over in the corner. I guess I would try to click that. But I will let you know that there is a bug when it comes to notifications, or they're calling it a bug anyway. Not exactly convinced, because there are some people that no matter what are unable to get notifications. Also, I would beware because some people are getting unsubscribed from channels as well. So definitely watch out for that. And if you find yourself unsubscribed, please subscribe again. So always check that. All right, everybody. Thank you for going around the nation with me. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation. See y'all tomorrow.